Thank you for watching my build vlog this far, for those of you who are still here. Now I've more or less finished the main body. It's ready for finishing off. And I've also glued the key box, but I haven't glued it into the main body yet because it needs finishing off. A couple of things have been mentioned about this. One of them does the CNC machine cut sharp enough corners? Well, I use a 0.5mm milling bit, which gives me a radius on the corners of 0.25mm. Now I gather that the radius of the corner on the laser machine is around about 0.4 so I guess there's not much difference. And in any case, I'm sure Jaap, when he did the design, has taken into account the radius of the corners of the various bits and pieces. Anyway, I've been milling with a 0.5mm bit, and I haven't had any particular problems. Sometimes I have to sharpen up the corners a bit with a scalpel, but that's not really too much of a chore. Now I've decided, one of the things I've decided to try is to print the keys in plastic rather than do them in wood. I think I'm going to adopt the G and C tuning, because then I can make all the keys along the top row black and then along the bottom row white, just like a piano, and that'll make it easier for me to find my way around it. The reason I haven't put all the keys in yet is that I tried with PLA. Now this is a PLA key. It's a little bit rough, and you can't really smooth it out. I suppose you could sand it and varnish it, but I decided to go with ABS. This key here is printed in ABS. Now the advantage of ABS is I can hang that in a vapor bucket, bucket of acetone vapor for 10 or 15 seconds, and it'll make it lovely and smooth and shiny. So I'm waiting for a delivery of black ABS. I've printed the white ABS. When I've printed out all the keys, I will put together the key box. The only thing I don't quite understand from the manual is how the keys return back off, so that the tangents aren't touching the strings while you play. And I gather it's because you're supposed to play it like that, and they fall back with gravity. Now, I don't play the instrument like that, or I don't intend to play the instrument like that, because I've got a slight disability and I need to play it flat on my lap. So I'm going to have to think of an arrangement that springs the keys back like I have on my nickel harper. So we'll come to that when we come to it. So now we start doing the fiddly bits. The key box is more or less finished, apart from putting the keys and the tangents in. So we'll put that there and forget about it. Now we need to assemble this complicated bridge assembly. Perhaps I didn't make it clear, but the reason why I'm putting the white notes along the bottom and the black notes along the top is that if you're in C or G tuning, it means that all the top row are your sharps and your flats, and the whole of the bottom row is your white notes, as on the piano. So the key layout would be similar to that on a piano, where the black notes are the sharps and flats and the whole notes are white. The other thing is, after I've tried these keys in ABS and I'm still not happy with it, I'll try printing them in resin, which is my last option, because it's going to take a long time for me to do that, because my resin printer's only got a very small bed and I can only probably print 3 or 4 keys at a time. Anyway, let's see how it goes. I think I'll get a cup of coffee. Okay, I've got myself a cup of coffee. Now it's time to start putting together this complicated bridge. If you're familiar with a violin bridge or a banjo bridge or some other kind of bridge like that, you'll realize that it's a much simpler affair than this. And when I saw all the pieces, I got a little bit anxious about how it was all going to go together. Anyway, let's put it together quickly. What they recommend, what the YOP recommends, is that you use a couple of these pieces to space these 3 pieces correctly before gluing. And if you're going to just glue those 3 pieces first, that's fine. Good idea. I thought it would be better to put the whole thing together, make sure it fits nicely on the Nerdy Gurdy before gluing them. If I plug it into the Nerdy Gurdy and it fits nicely, then presumably it will be aligned, we hope. Anyway, let's put it together then. The manual recommends that you glue these 3 together before assembling. Well, if you do that, make sure you do it accurately. I would actually glue them when they're in place. They fit like this. Fit the small one in there. One of the large ones goes, oops, wrong way around, in there. And the other one behind in there. So that fits nicely. Whoops. One of the things that came up was, I mentioned you might like to use CA glue on complicated pieces like this, where you can fit it together, make sure it's all fitted nicely, and then just wick a bit of CA glue in there to glue it. That wasn't received with very much enthusiasm, but I mean, the reason being that it's difficult to dismantle CA glue. Well, I'm using just PVA glue, and you can't dismantle that either. So anyway, I'll use PVA with this, and I recommend you do as well, especially if you can't replace any parts, if you bought the kit. I can always just run another part off the CNC machine. So they go there. This fits in here. And that's that part. These pieces go in on the side. Like that. And like that. And that leaves us with these little pieces, and it doesn't really explain beautifully in the manual where they go. But before you glue this together, you need to put glue 3mm bolts in there and in there, and afterwards these pieces just slide in there and there and there and there, and these are for the purposes of adjustments. I haven't worked out how that works yet, but I will do. So I'll just get myself some 3mm bolts and see how it all goes. As well as that, I've got these cello tuning pegs. The holes are a little bit small for them. I need to drill them out a little bit. And I'll probably put another bit of wood underneath as well, just so these have got more bulk to anchor them. So I'll just go and get myself some 3mm nuts and bolts. If you're going to glue the bolts in, they recommend you if you're going to glue the nuts in, they recommend that you put the bolts in as well to stop glue getting in onto the thread. Now, the last thing I'm going to do before gluing this all together is to put 3 M3 bolt nuts there and there. They are glued in, and they recommend that you put a bolt through the nut. Well, that's not going to work, is it? Well, that shows the importance of the dry fit, doesn't it? I'll put these in upside down. They fit perfectly upside down, but then the side bits don't fit. So now they do, hopefully. And they recommend you put a bolt through there onto the nut before gluing on both sides. So I'm so hand-fisted. That's just me. You're going to do it much better. There you are. You can screw those in tight if you like, hold it together. And then, when you've glued it all together, which I'm going to do in a minute, because it's the end of this part of the video, you slide these little bits, a triangle in the square thingy in there, and presumably tightening and loosening the bolts adjusts the action of the strings on the wheel. I may be wrong, but that's what I'm guessing. And the next thing on the next build is we're going to build all these fiddly little bits that go on the strings and in the drones and the trumpets and all those other things, which are all new concepts to me. I'm getting quite excited about finding out all about them. Thank you for watching my build vlog, and I hope you're still around for the next one.